on the 27th of October. I uploaded a video of the City of Dundee's bid to be the 2023 European City of Culture being sent off. It was a public event at the city square where we saw the bid being sent off, dancers, a few people spoke, and then the bid was driven away in an electric van from the city square, kind of showing that the bid had been sent off. Unfortunately, not just Dundee, but cities across the UK have seen today their bids come crashing to a halt. And it's not just Dundee. Cities across the UK were or have placed a bid to be the European City of Culture in 2023. Cities including Leeds, Nottingham, Milton Keynes, and the Belfast Derry joint bid have all seen today by the European Commission that runs the scheme their bids basically disqualified or barred from the bidding process. This really comes absolutely out of the blue, with just about a week to go until the shortlisting process was supposed to happen. So the European Commission would, obviously receive, say, 50 bids in total, right across Europe. They would cut that down to say 10 or 12 to be the finalists or the semi-finalists. That's what was due to happen. That is what's due to happen in about a week's time. But completely out of the blue, the European Commission have apparently written to the British government, or English Parliament, I call it, and stated that no UK cities are going to be considered for this due to Britain leaving the European Union. Now, I understand it. Brexit, against my vote and against my feelings and against many people's feelings, I understand the way the vote went. Britain is leaving the European Union, and I understand by 2023, Britain will no longer be part of the European Union. And I realise that there will be certain competitions or certain things that the UK will not be able to be a part of. But certainly, reading a few of the articles that I've read this afternoon, it seems that this competition was open to cities outside of the European Union anyway. So this move, this apparently what they're saying, it's because of Brexit. Just and the only word that I can describe it is farcical. Just for the European Commission, who runs the scheme, to suddenly come out and say that no UK cities will be allowed to be part of this bidding process is farcical. I think it's just a big farce, and I don't know why they've made this decision. I really don't. I just think it's ridiculous that the way that this has been handled. I mean, they could have stated, they could have said, okay, we're going to look at them, and it could have even just said in about a week's time, sorry, none of these cities will have been shortlisted. But it seems I don't know how far they've gotten into looking at the bids. I don't know whether there's been any visitors from the European Commission, whoever it is, visiting any. I don't know whether any of them have visited the cities in the UK that have bidded, but certainly there has been, they said, communication between the European Commission and the cities that have bid have certainly, almost certainly, have to happen. The bids are formatted. They were limited to up to 80 pages. They all knew that. And there's obviously in most competitions like this, there are guidelines that they have to adhere to. There are certain areas that they have to feature in their bids, whether it be financial, whether it be organisational, what events, what type of events you would put on, how would you spread them throughout the year, and what whether you would charge the public for these events, and there's always in these kind of bidding processes certain things that you have to feature, certain areas that you have to cover when it comes to these bids. So there must have certainly been communication between the European Commission and these cities, so that the European Commission will have been well aware of who's bidding or who's wanting to place a bid for the European City of Culture 2023. They must have been well aware of the situation. They well know that UK cities are bidding. They don't. It's not that these UK cities have just suddenly turned up, or however the bids are delivered. Somebody said it was emailed in or some, but the bids could not have just turned up at the European Commission's doorstep on deadline day. There are obviously, again, guidelines that they've got to be kept to in these kind of things. And various things. There's got to be in communication. The European Commission cannot say that we're not aware of UK cities bidding in this process. So it's farcical, in my opinion, that they've just suddenly turned around and decided that UK cities are no longer eligible. Surely, if they made that decision, they should have said it a long time ago. Because they're well aware of the situation. They're well aware of the Brexit vote. They're well aware that cities are putting bids together, spending time, effort, and money to put these bids together. There certainly has got to be a fair amount of communication between the organisers and these cities bidding to be the European. It's just farcical, in my opinion, that this has happened. And again, the one last thing I will say, I really do feel very sorry for all of those involved in putting these bids together, putting their time, their effort. And I know people do complain about public money being spent on this kind of thing, but uh, I've seen it. I'm not going to just because I think stuff like this. I think it is well worth spending some money on. But and I know there are people. Well, what about this? What about that? Spending money on, but it's basically it's like you at work putting together a project, working for months on it because that's what they've done. They've put in all their time, their effort. The real. I mean, certainly when I was down at that send off event, they were all really up for it, really excited about it, really put in effort into it. Really getting behind the bid, really enjoying it as well, and just to be turned to for the European Commission to turn around and suddenly say that was all for absolutely nothing. It was all a waste of time, money, and effort. It's just it's just a really ridiculous thing, I think, and that's not me even saying this because Dundee could have gone far in it because I stated before in that send off video and since that I honestly wasn't sure how far Dundee would go in this process. I wasn't actually sure whether we even go past the shortlisted uh, process in about a week's time. I wasn't even sure whether we'd get past that shortlisting day. So it's not. I'm not saying because I thought Dundee had a brilliant, 100% chance of winning this thing, and I wasn't saying Dundee's going to be the city of culture for 2023. I wasn't saying that at all because I wasn't genuinely sure how well we'd get on. But just for them to turn around and suddenly say that all the city, all these UK cities are disqualified, barred from the bidding process, I think it's farcical what they've done. Farcical. That is absolutely it. For them just suddenly out of the blue to disqualify right across the UK, where they knew the situation and they knew who was bidding, they know obviously there was a lot of communication going on between them. For all of that to go on, I think it's completely farcical. I will though be down at the City Square tomorrow. There is the Christmas light switch on. There's a lot of events going on in the City Square tomorrow, and around the city centre tomorrow. I'll work on that video, put it up some point next week. But absolutely, for the European Commission just to suddenly claim because of Brexit they disqualified all UK cities, I think it's a farce.